Hello book lovers and welcome to Book Talk Radio Club. My name is Claire Perkins and today I'm talking to health coach and author Cheryl Meyer. Cheryl is the author of the book It Feels Good to Feel Good, which has been edited, revised and published last month. When is the last time you felt good? Do you have muscle aches and pains, joint pain, swelling, puffiness, headaches, brain fog, swelling, constipation? This is a long list. Asthma, skin problems like eczema and psoriasis, hives, rashes and acne? Do you have hay fever or digestion issues? Do you have an issue with weight? All of these symptoms are caused by inflammation. This book can change your life. It's certainly changed Cheryl's. Let's find out more. Hi Cheryl, thank you for coming back on Book Talk Radio Club to talk about the edited and revised edition of It Feels Good to Feel Good.
Thank you, Claire. I'm really happy to be here.
My first question has to be, why edited and revised? What's changed?
I wrote the book, I got autoimmune disease, but my conventional doctor had no clue what was wrong with me. So I literally went on a 5-year odyssey to try to figure out what was wrong with myself because I was getting no help from the conventional medical community here. And I tripped into the functional medicine community who was running 20 different symposiums on different parts of the body. And I watched them all, and I figured out from that I probably had inflammation, I probably had something called leaky gut, and I probably had inflammation and autoimmune disease. So that's where I started my research after watching all these doctors in all these symposiums. And they ran the symposiums and became functional doctors because they had gotten sick and couldn't help themselves.
Right.
So they went back to school for additional knowledge from the functional medicine community so that they could help themselves first and then help patients. So I kind of tripped into that, but I couldn't find a functional doctor in my immediate community in the beginning. So I just started researching. And there were two things I figured out I could do right away for myself. One was I could lower my stress significantly, and the other was I could eliminate toxins. So I looked into toxins. I found a database that is on EWG, or the Environmental Working Group, and they literally have hundreds of thousands of items that they have rated from 1 to 10 for toxicity. So I started going through everything in my life one by one and looking it up and then finding things to replace it with that were lower in toxicity. So that's where my journey began. I didn't really know I had autoimmune disease in the beginning, but I sure had all the signs of inflammation, which are some of the things that you read before we started talking. I actually have a blog on my website, 20 hidden signs that you have inflammation and you may not be aware of it.
So what have you edited and revised? So what have you edited and revised now in the book?
I revised it because when I wrote the book, I really targeted it only to people with autoimmune disease.
Right.
And as it's been 3 years since the first book got published, I have learned since then that inflammation is all of our major chronic illnesses. So I wanted to make the umbrella larger and include people with cancer and heart disease as well as autoimmune disease, because the way to take control of your own body and to support yourself through any of these chronic illnesses are the same. If you start to eliminate your toxic load and you lower your stress and you heal your leaky gut, which, yep, I have, then you can start to give your body support that allow it to help it to heal itself. And so I wanted to get a larger group of people because it really applied to all of them.
Right. So what tests did you actually go through to link the symptoms to inflammation?
I didn't know for sure that I had inflammation and autoimmune disease until I found a functional doctor who was an hour away from me.
What is a functional doctor?
Okay. A functional doctor goes to medical school just like a conventional doctor does.
Right.
My functional doctor went to Yale. But like other functional doctors, she got sick. So she went back to the Institute of Functional Medicine to get additional training so that she could help herself. And she's a little over an hour away from me, but going to her was like night and day of seeing my conventional doctor. Every single test that she ran on me was different. The conventional doctor ran a test for allergies. My functional doctor ran a test on sensitivities. They're different. But the conventional medicine group doesn't believe in sensitivities. They're things that cause a slow burn in your body, which is what causes inflammation. And it ended up I had 18 different foods that were causing the slow burn in my body that were also causing me to have this leaky gut.
Amazing.
And leaky gut is because you're not digesting your food completely because it's interrupted by the toxins in your gut. And the sensitivity is interrupted from being properly digested. Parasites interrupted. Stress interrupts it. And so these two large sizes of molecules start pushing up against the lining of your gut, which is only one cell thick. Who would have thought? And so they rip little holes in it and start leaking into your bloodstream. And your body does what your body's supposed to do. It screams foreigner because it doesn't know what that is because it's the wrong size and it can't identify it. And then the body does an interesting thing. It overreacts to the body's inflammation system and starts to attack something where you're weak. For me, it was my joints and my muscles. For someone else, it might be their thyroid and become Hashimoto's or Graves' disease. For someone else, it might be their skin and become psoriasis or eczema. For someone else, it might be their lower gut and become IBS. Each one of us has an area in our body where we are weak, and that's where our body attacks us.
Well, you've just answered my next question. So let's go on to white refined sugar. I mean, this is a huge problem for people as it is so addictive. The more we have, the more our body craves. Yet the boxes of cereals we see on the supermarket shelves are loaded with it, aren't they? It would seem the manufacturers of these products have us in an ever-increasing sugar addiction.
Yeah, sugar is one of the things that interrupts your gut and causes leaky gut. It is poison. It is as addictive as heroin and cocaine. They actually did a study with rats and offered them sugar, took it away, offered them cocaine, took it away and offered them both, and they took the sugar. So getting yourself off the sugar is critical, and it actually mucks around with your appetite hormones. So when you get addicted, you want to eat more because you're not registering that you're full.
Yeah.
And so it's an evil circle that you get into, and you have to detox off of it, which was like detoxing off of a drug. I got sick as a dog when I detoxed off the sugar.
Yeah.
But the sugar is mostly in processed foods. We're not talking about the 1 teaspoon that you add to your coffee in the morning, because you control that. But 4 grams of sugar equals 1 teaspoon, and very little processed food only has 4 grams of sugar in it per serving.
It's low.
That's where your addiction's coming from.
Exactly. I mean, on the subject of sugar, as far as I'm concerned, it is our responsibility to look after our bodies. However, there are a great many people who totally rely on the advice of professionals, and these professionals don't seem to take the time and care to learn and understand. Excuse me. For example, my husband was advised by our doctor to have blood tests for possible diabetes. He visited the nurse that draws blood, and she said to him, "Oh, you're having a test for diabetes, you must cut out sugar." Well, my husband is a sensible man and knows that sugar is not just the amount you add to your tea or coffee, as you just said, but the processed foods are loaded with the stuff, as is so-called diet soda, none of which we have anywhere. We eat totally fresh stuff. But why doesn't the nurse, this is what always gets me, why doesn't the nurse go further and educate her patients rather than just trot out the same questions?
Yeah, our medical people here, and probably over in England as well, they get less than half a day on nutrition. So you know how the doctor will say to you, you need to lose weight, and you say, how am I going to do that? And he has no clue because that was not part of his curriculum. And it's the same thing for a nurse. So you have to take responsibility for your own body because they are trained. Now, this happened because medical schools here were started by the pharmaceutical companies.
That says a lot.
The place where doctors get most of their up-to-date knowledge is from their pharmaceutical rep. So you tell them what's wrong with you, and they match it to a pill that they know that they can give you that will help you with whatever that symptom to the root of what we're eating, because food is medicine.
Oh, God,
And,
absolutely.
that's one of the more, and I discovered not only that, but the body wants to heal you. If you give it the right materials, it's garbage in, garbage out, just like any other computer. If we give it nutrients instead of all this processed food and synthetic stuff, the body wants to heal, and it can take that stuff and rebuild cells and make you healthy again.
I know that when I listen to what my body wants to eat and let it guide me around the supermarket, I'm always drawn to fresh vegetables and fruit with vibrant colours. In fact, I love looking at it more than eating it. To me, there is food that makes me feel alive after eating it, such as fresh vegetables and fruit. And then there's what I call dead food, such as processed food, bread and cake. But however, living in a country here in the UK that has dreary, cold and grey winters, the supermarkets don't seem to have a great deal of choice in the winter months when it comes to fresh fruit and veg. And I like to keep healthy all year round, not just the spring and summer. What do you suggest, Cheryl?
Believe it or not, I suggest you buy frozen organic vegetables if those are available there.
They are.
What you want is the organic vegetables. And organic because if you're getting any of your vegetables from us, we're spraying them all with chemicals. And your body doesn't need a healthy dose of toxins with the nutrients that you're getting from the vegetables. So do yourself a favor and spend the extra money to buy organic because your body will celebrate it. And in the winter months, you do want to get them from wherever you can, which in most areas of our country as well is frozen. And that's okay. And then in the summer, if you have farmers markets in the spring and summer, I strongly recommend you go there because it's the closest from the farm to your table to go buy your vegetables someplace where they were just picked.
Let's talk about
you get the most nutrients.
Let's talk about dairy products now. We're taught that as children there's nothing more wholesome than a cold glass of milk, and yet I don't believe that's true. There are too many people that are lactose intolerant. What are your thoughts?
Well, number one, dairy is a sensitivity for me, so it was good to know that because I can't tolerate the casein or the whey in dairy at all. But really, dairy is for baby cows.
Yes.
Dairy is not for humans. And one of the things that the dairy industry has marketed to us is that it will build strong bones.
Yes.
And in reality, it's acidic, so it's pulling calcium out of your bones to protect your kidney. So it's really not that healthy for you.
No,
if you really want to have dairy, do it full fat because they're spraying stuff to put into it after they take the fat out. That's not good for you and causing cholesterol. So it's got all kinds of negatives. We drink plant milk in my house. We drink almond milk. And I'm very happy with that.
Oh, I must try that. I keep seeing that and I never actually buy it. I'll have a go with that. It's not just foodstuffs that cause our bodies to spiral out of control, is it? I mean, a few years back, I found that strong scents cause a horrible allergic reaction, and you experienced the same. You say, and I quote, "I woke up one morning and my lips and my tongue were swollen, and finally I figured out that it was fabric softener." Am I exaggerating when I say we're surrounded by toxicity?
I was shocked when I started looking into what was in my life because everything was toxic. And one of the most toxic things in your house is your fabric softener. Who would have thunk? So that needs to go away. Anything with fragrance has toxins in it. I really recommend that you start slowly. It took me 5 years to evict all of the toxins from my life. But start looking up the products in your life on the EWG database and replacing them with things that are less toxic. It takes time, but it's toxic load that topples over that gives you inflammation and chronic illness. So if you start doing it now, you will stay healthy longer. And you don't want to wait until you're sick and tired of being sick and tired like I did. You want to do it now before you go over the edge because I will always have autoimmune disease now. I just don't have pain from my autoimmune disease anymore, and that's huge.
I know that I used to use a lot of household cleaners, just to clean the shower, and now I tend to use bicarbonate of soda and fresh lemon juice, and I've never seen my shower look so clean, smell so nice, and I feel good.
And it's good for you. It's not doing any harm, and it's not going through your skin and poisoning your body.
Exactly. Cheryl, you recently posted on your Facebook page that San Diego had banned glyphosate from being sprayed. What is glyphosate and what is it sprayed on and why has it been banned?
Glyphosate is better known as Roundup. And Roundup in this country is sprayed on most of our crops. They are sprayed on all of our genetically modified crops. And there was a lawsuit last year where somebody finally, Robert Kennedy Jr., actually got Monsanto to cough up their records that they've known for 20 years that Roundup causes cancer. And they won millions of dollars in the lawsuit. And there's been 2 more lawsuits that have made it to the courts since then, all of which have won against Monsanto.
Wow.
But it's still being sprayed, and there are now 40,000 cases in the docket being ready to be heard by the courts. Bayer, in the meantime, bought Monsanto, and they are continuing to spray it on our food and our products. It is not only sprayed on our food, it's sprayed on our schoolyards. It's sprayed on our public places where we walk our dogs. It's sprayed on our golf courses. It's everywhere. I even caught my gardener one day getting ready to spray it on my lawn. It is very toxic, and you don't want it near you. And I am so excited that San Diego has taken the stance because our government is not protecting us from it. The EPA just published that there's no proof that it's poisoning us, and that is simply not true. So I want people to be aware of it and to stay away from it as much as they can. And that's one reason I'm such a huge proponent for organic, because if you're eating organic, you're not getting that sprayed on what you're putting in your body.
I understand you filmed a series of shows called Future Proofing Your Health. What does that mean and where can these shows be seen?
You can see the shows. The first 6 have now been posted on my YouTube channel, which is under the same name, Cheryl M. Health News. And I'm doing them in alliance with my local community access television station. And they're running them on their stations, but that's only for my immediate community, which is probably 200,000 people, but it's not beyond here. So I posted them on Zoom so that everybody can see them.
All right.
I came up with the word future-proofing because when I speak to large crowds, I'm really speaking mostly to people with chronic illness, but my information is for everyone. And someone inevitably comes up to me and says, I don't need to hear this, I'm healthy. And you need to future-proof your health now, because if you don't pay attention to what I'm talking to, you won't be healthy when your toxic load builds up and topples over the top. So I want you to do it now. Have you heard of the National Geographic Blue Zone study?
No, what's that?
They have identified 5 areas in the world where people live the longest.
Okay.
And they have 9 things in common with each other. And they've now rolled out 9 more communities in the United States as an experiment to see if they can get the whole community healthy by following these principles. And they're exactly the same principles I talk about in my book. It's that they eat in community. They make their plates in the kitchen and don't go back for seconds. They only eat until they're 80% full. They eat organic. They don't eat all the toxins. They filter their water and they drink half their body weight in ounces so that their body stays wet and healthy. They walk. They take their dogs out and they walk. They all have some kind of faith-based philosophy, and they support each other. And so these are the things that we need to be doing so that we can live long and thrive. And the biggest thing about the blue zones is that these people grow old, way older than other populations, and they don't get dementia because they haven't been eating the toxins and the poisons. And so I want you to
Long-term stress is also a huge factor when it comes to damaging our physical body. You talk about toxic stress in your book. What is toxic stress?
Everybody has a certain amount of stress, and that is fine. But when it builds up, it becomes chronic stress, and that's the kind of stress that's toxic. I had so much stress that my cortisol was almost to Addison's disease when I got sick. So I have learned a series of 3-minute exercises that I talk about in the book, and I do them like every It causes leaky gut, stress. It impacts every organ in our body. And anybody who has chronic illness probably has been dealing with chronic stress. So learning how to control your stress so that it doesn't go there is a very important principle for health.
What is the net result then of living amongst all these toxins that we've talked about today?
Well, in the United States, we're 37th in the world in health. 53% of our children have chronic illness. I find that appalling.
It is.
The latest statistic is that millennials make it to 27 and then their health begins to decline. There are so many statistics that are directly related to how many toxins are in our lives here, and they're in all of our products. And at first I got angry that my government wasn't protecting me here, but I don't think Canada's government's protecting them or yours is protecting you.
No.
So we have to join together. I call it, we need to be an army of one, where all of us as armies of one join together and change the system with our dollars. If we stop buying this toxic stuff, they will pay attention. And the Institute for Responsible Technology says it's only going to take a 5% shift, and they'll start to pay attention to the fact that we're not buying the toxins anymore. And they'll start making more products that don't have all the toxicity in them.
Let's go back to your book. You also have an accompanying workbook to It Feels Good to Feel Good. How do readers use the workbook?
If you buy my book, and it's available for you on Amazon, and you write to me, I'll send you the workbook. I did the workbook because people were telling me it was overwhelming. They couldn't possibly do it. There were hundreds of toxins. How are they going to do it? So my suggestion is you can read my book in any order. Whatever chapter you're reading, print the workbook pages that go with that. And as you find things in your life that are toxic, that are in my chapter, you write them down, but you don't even think about replacing them until you run out of the old item. You've been using it all these years. You're not going to clean out your whole house all at once. So you write it down, you put it in a binder. When you run out of the toxic item, you know exactly what you're going to replace it with. And as I said, it took me 5 years to eliminate hundreds of toxins in my life.
Who will benefit most from reading It Feels Good to Feel Good?
I actually think everybody would benefit, but my initial group that I'm targeting is anybody with chronic illness, which is autoimmune disease, cancer, or heart disease. They would benefit the most because by eliminating the toxins, their body has an environment where it actually can start to support them to get well.
And lastly, Cheryl, where can Book Talk Radio Club's listeners purchase the edited and revised copy of It Feels Good to Feel Good, and of course the accompanying workbook, although you just said that about that. So
the workbook you have to ask for, you can email me and I will send it to you right away. The book itself is available on Amazon, and by Monday I'm going to have my own site for books. I actually...
Hello? Hello? Oh, it seems that Cheryl's disappeared. Hello? No?
Okay, I'm still here. It's unstable. Here we go. I should be back.
The internet's playing silly buggers. Sorry, you were saying it's on Amazon, yes?
It's on Amazon, and shortly it will be on Heavenly Tree Press, which will be my website for all my books.
Wonderful. All right, well, thank you, Cheryl. That was, as usual, very interesting. Please come back on Book Talk Radio Club soon. I'd love to chat and hear more. In the meantime, good luck for the future, and thank you, everyone, for listening to Book Talk Radio Club. Thanks very much, Cheryl.
Thank you, Claire. I love doing this.
Oh, my pleasure. Bye now.